curious how they lived, what they had, and how they drove the cars and nice homes, nice clothes, everything. And that was just like a dream for me, right? For me, it was like I wanted to know how it felt to be in control and be in possession of that stuff, right? So I've always wanted an Audi A4.
Yeah.
Just because it looked so nice on the magazine, right? So, when I bought an Audi, it was like, okay, nice, that's it, right? But I had something like a vision board, or I had aspirations to always want something more.
Welcome to the Be the Boss podcast. I'm your host, Joe Bruce, and this is the podcast where my guests and I bring to you the very best success stories, guidance, tips, and tricks to help you get your business off the ground and getting results. So if you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, or you'd like to be, then this is the place for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. John Vuong, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me, Joel. I'm excited to share some insights in terms of the journey as well as success when you're starting. It's hard.
Yeah, fantastic. So John, you are the founder of Local SEO Search, Canadian-based entrepreneur servicing local businesses, helping them with their SEO and marketing, I guess, and we're gonna hear a little bit about that today on the podcast. And it's such a great topic that I know can bring value to the people listening. So I want to hear a little bit about that. We'll also want to hear about your story. John's got a fascinating story, sort of an origin story, if you will. And we'll get into some technical advice towards the end of this. So hang around for some technical SEO advice from John Vuong at the end of this. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about your early years and what made you the man that you are today. So I understand that your parents moved to Canada before you were born. Is that right?
Yeah. So my mom was, I think, 2 weeks before she was going to conceive, and she had me while she was here in Canada. But it was the sacrifice that she and my parents made to bring us to a Western country, Western society. And I think that was the biggest gift of life ever, to be able to have choice, to be able to have the luxuries of shelter, food at our disposal. Because I flew to Vietnam and Asia and different cultures over the many, many years. And what people have versus what we have over there, it's like you can't even, you can watch it on TV, you can listen to it, but when you're there, it's hard to imagine, right? So I'm ultra grateful in that sense. So for me, that sacrifice, and then the upbringing was, we only had family. My parents didn't know English. We didn't have family members. We took care of each other. We had support amongst each other. So growing up, working was really to feed family, right? Buying milk, bread. I had many, many jobs, from factory to labor to, restaurant to everything you name. Probably had 30 jobs before I started my working career. But that's what life is about, right? Like, you go out, make something happen. You don't wait for anything to happen. And then you learn. And I was ultimately curious about how people lived all the time, because watching movies, reading it, looking at magazines, surrounding yourself with different variety of people, you were always curious how they lived, what they had, and how they drove the cars and nice homes, nice clothes, everything. And that was just like a dream for me, right? For me, it was like I wanted to know how it felt to be in control and be in possession of that stuff, right? So I've always wanted an Audi A4. Just because it looked so nice on the magazine, right? So, when I bought an Audi, it was like, okay, nice, that's it, right? But I had something like a vision board, or I had aspirations to always want something more. So I'm always trying to figure out, and this is where getting out there, learning from people, asking questions, getting mentors, coaches, a lot of employers that you looked up to.
Yeah, talk to me about that. What were the kind of defining jobs that you had in your early years, or who were the defining characters, I guess, in your life early on?
So early days, for me, it was more like people that I looked up to were my employers, my not just colleagues, but the higher up colleagues, the ones that I would say in my 20s, but they lived life and they were 50 or 60 with a family, more established, with a home, with everything under control. That's who I looked up to, because that's a life I wanted to be living, right, at that age, because they took care of their health, they were ultra successful, and they had everything sorted, right? Like had happy family, happy home, everything. That's who I transpired to want to be. From Yellow Pages, all my clients, 1 hour sessions of mentoring, curiosity, asking questions. My colleagues, we had 2,000 sales reps, and I gravitated towards the ultra successful, President's Gold Circle type of people. They were successful in work, but they also had a good family life balance lifestyle. And I was very fortunate to be embraced by a corporate culture that allowed for me to get mentors like that, colleagues that I would, work next to, have lunch and coffee with, daily, right? Consuming information like that, because that ultimately guided me to where I am today, to be ultra grateful for what I have, understanding where people, have to go through in their stages of life, right? Because people today are very short-minded. They want things yesterday. They want immediate results, right?
And that kind of mentality you're talking about strikes me as being quite a mature mentality for a 20-year-old to be aspiring towards that kind of balance already. Most 20-year-olds, I don't think I'm out of place saying that, they're looking for a good time. They're in their first kind of rollout of college or whatever, and they're looking to earn some. It's the first time maybe they've earned money, and they're just looking to have a good time and burn through cash. And but you're looking at getting balance, and you're looking at absorbing life lessons from 50-year-old mentors. And so where does that kind of maturity come from, would you say?
I think parenting, right? I think surrounding yourself with the right type of people, because like you read a lot of books saying you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So my parents were great, people that took care of us, for ensuring that we always had food on the table and we had dinner together every single night. Yeah. So that really meant family ties, bonding, right? Relationships was what we were about, right? Yeah. So that's what we do at my household right now with my son, my wife, and all my relatives and my friends, right? Like we are like really tight-knit family. Then comes the mindset of the opportunity that we have in front of us. Here in Canada, it's endless, where my parents sacrificed everything, like livelihood. Just imagine being in a war-torn country and liquidating every asset piece you have and starting from scratch, zero money in the bank.
This is your parents essentially escaping the war in Vietnam, right?
Selling everything for gold to get to a different country, wherever you can reside. And all my aunts and uncles, so my parents, brothers and sister, are in Australia. I've never met them. Okay. Germany. Okay. I've been to Germany a couple of times, but like all across the world. And they just had to flee, right? Wherever the opportunity was, because you either live through the war and you don't know if you'll survive, or try to get out, right? So I don't know how what they were going through, but I can only imagine, right? And they made the decision to escape it, and I'm very fortunate to now live that life of their sacrifice. So I'm ultra grateful for that.
Oh, that's really cool. Perhaps you could explain a little bit about how you work with clients. What's the kind of the journey for a client of yours?
Typically, our type of persona, our avatar of our ideal customer at the beginning, and I'll be honest, 7 years ago when I first started this company, I didn't know anything about SEO. And so actually, let's go back a little bit, because I want to share with you why I started this company. Sure. So after finishing school in business finance, that's what I studied. I my first job, real job, was in sales, and it was in advertising sales. And the first job, I was working at a company called the Red Pages. Very similar to Yellow Pages, but for me, this was back in 2003, and the concept was amazing because it was a printed directory of only websites going to every single home business, and apartment building. The reason I thought it was great was internet was dial-up, computers were slow, it took 5 minutes to boot up, and websites loaded 5 minutes. Email took a long time to load. I don't know if your audience members remember this, but at that time, it was very frustrating. And I thought it solved a great problem. Let alone a couple of years later, internet speed got faster, technology got faster, smartphones started to exist. So it kind of disintegrated, right? Like that whole business model kind of got shot down. But the concept was amazing. So I stick with advertising sales from not just traditional to then affiliate online to then I worked at Yellow Pages, and I was there for 5 years. And again, sales, advertising, I met thousands of business owners in every single industry niche locally in Canada. But I would imagine it would be the same everywhere in every city, right? And I really got to understand who they were, what their purpose was, what they stood for, what differentiated themselves, what made a really good business owner, how they survived before the internet really took off. And that's the root of why I started this company, because those business owners, they really cared about the community. They really took care of their customers. They understood their value, what they brought to the table. They understood the competitor analysis, their services, their pricing, everything to the T they understood.
So that grounding that you had then in sales and understanding businesses has been the foundation, rather than technical expertise on which
nothing technical. So for me, motivation was really to help those business owners because they express concerns right off the bat. Near the last 2 years of while I was at Yellow Pages, every call I had was frustration, less return on investment. User behavior has shifted from traditional print to then digital, right? And I myself was now consuming more information on Google, right? So that transition was more a reality, and I needed to fit the mold or find someone that can help, right? And locally, there was no real go-to company, right? And yes, there were SEO agencies that were dealing with larger brands, larger ticket items, but not servicing the local business owners. So for me, that's all I knew for 10 years, working with these local business owners. And I saw a gap and opportunity. So I sold them because I was in sales. And then after selling customers, I had to understand how to deliver. So that was the challenging part because, sales was my forte. I enjoyed it. I built really good relationships. But then I had to figure out how to rank a website because it's not easy, right? But for me, sales is not easy if you don't know how to sell either. So I figured it out. So I figured out how to rank websites, and I made a lot of mistakes taking on wrong type of clients, servicing with different price points and deliverables and value. Like a lot of things I learned, I didn't come from SEO background, technical background at all. I figured it out because nowadays there's blogs, there's videos, there's books, everything can be taught online. If you have the will and desire and hard work ethic to really make it happen, you can make anything happen, right?
So your motivation came from solving customer problems, and you yourself were working out the answers as you went along, like so many new businesses are doing, right?
And even myself, I had a really obsolete website, didn't even have one. I had a business card, so I was a sales rep. But I sold them on the idea and concept and, the dream of the first page, right? But I didn't know how to do it. But now I do a lot better. Like maybe 5 years ago, I really perfected it. And then now I built systems and processes and teams on really strategizing. And I compare myself with some very large agencies across the world or North America because we have the same pillars. We have the same kind of pieces with the same expertise, but I'm servicing a local market versus a global market with big brands, right? With huge budgets. So just understanding where you play in the spectrum of who you want to target and serve.
And what kind of services do you offer these local businesses then?
So we're a full service agency. So for us, we take care of everything to rank a website on that first page of Google. And there's a lot of components because there's over 200 signals that is required. So customers don't care what goes on behind the scenes. They just want results, right? And they want to work with someone that they can trust, right? So I had to figure out what components I needed and what teams I had to build to fill that gap and answer that problem. So now we have a full team of content writers, developers, graphic designers, link builders, social media managers, to SEO strategists, right? And operations, market, everything to form a real company. But early days, it was 1, 2, 3 people, right? Yeah. And then you grow because they held as many hats as you did. Yeah. And then you start growing and then specializing, growing, specializing. So at the beginning, it was more about like, as a business owner, you have no idea what's going on, how to do it properly, what someone did it correctly might not be your style, right? You just wanted to, maybe you had a dream of owning your own business, right? Maybe you see other people running a business, and you say, I can do that better. But you have no idea what their history was, what went on behind the scenes of 20 years prior to getting them to that point in their life, right? So even myself, like 10 years of real work history in sales to then be doing SEO for 7 years. And now I'm suddenly doing more podcasting and amplifying my message because now I feel educated and I feel confident on speaking on stage, doing my own podcast and speaking to other people because that takes time to really position yourself and feel knowledgeable.
Yeah, so the whole, absolutely. The whole idea of feeling knowledgeable is a really interesting one, and it's such a relative term, right? So in that first year when you were servicing these clients, for them, you were the expert, right? Then you were because you knew how to maybe find the answers that they didn't have, and you could pitch them on that. You knew what the end product needed to look like, so you're 1 or 2 steps ahead of them. And now 7 years on, you're leaps and strides ahead of those businesses, and you've built a team that services those. But it's a nice transition to when you start feeling like the go-to expert. Okay, so let's take a look at the business that you have now. 7 years into the business, you said now you have a team of specialists set up. All based in Canada, is that right?
Yeah, so our team is comprised of not just in Canada, but also in Asia.
Okay.
So because of price, so we can add value to our clients. And that's our competitive edge too. Like continually add more value to our clients to get better results that will then amplify the return on investment for clients.
And what has your role become over the years? How has that changed and evolved?
Yeah, so I used to do sales and marketing. I used to do the SEO strategy. I used to content write. I used to do everything. I held the hat for everything. As a business owner at the beginning, you do everything to learn what you like and what you don't like. And then you value your time more. So when I had my son, it's more, I'd rather spend more time with my kid than working, right? So then you figure out who you want to hire and you go out and seek people to replace the tasks that you don't like doing. And then you learn how to delegate, and then you learn how to lead by example. And then, you just move along the career path of business ownership, right? And now we have a team of 30 plus employees and we work very fluidly. There's teams of managers, then there's teams of staff, and then we all get along. We collaborate, we strategize, and we enjoy each other's company, right? So my whole motivation now is to instill good work ethics and values and really look at the big picture 3-5 years down the line, right? And look at like where we're sitting today, where are the gaps, and how can we get to whatever we want. So it's a little bit different, but it's what you want to get out of it. Like if I enjoyed SEO, I would continue doing SEO, right? Hire people for other things. I love sales, so sometimes I still dabble in sales, but I have a VP of sales now, like I have a team, right? So you have to understand where you want to go with your company and how to get there. And that's the challenge, a lot of mindset. A lot of people don't understand what it takes to be a business owner, how hard it is.
For sure. I mean, so many people are technical experts and they get into business based on, maybe they've got experience of sales, or maybe they're an engineer, or they have a solution to a problem, technical problem, and they start a business based on that idea. And then they find 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, that they're no longer doing what it was. And that's, if they haven't planned ahead enough, that's not going to work out for them in the long run. But as you've said, you've managed to find that balance with family life, and you're doing the things that you want to be doing, which is awesome to hear that you've planned that. Was that a conscious mapping of what happens, or has it just kind of evolved like that?
It's evolved. It changes continuously, but you have a clear vision, right? Like my ultimate goal. Right? And then you have to work backwards. How long did it take me to get to this point from my previous job or from my previous experience, right? So when you're starting off, in business, everything takes longer and costs you more.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so stressful. So you have to be prepared for this. And business ownership is not for everyone, and it's okay. But timing might not be right as well. Like you have to figure out where you're at in terms of your life journey. Yeah. If you're just getting started in terms of like experience, go out there, learn from others, go out there, volunteer, go out there, make mistakes, right? And even the first, like I'm very fortunate, this is my only first foray of business ownership. And it's been, for me, like I'm ultra happy with what's gone on so far, right? So I continue being motivated by doing something I'm passionate about. But a lot of people might not find what they're passionate about that modes and fits their business journey. You got to figure that out, and it's hard, right, to explain it.
For sure, and that's what I'm doing through my work is helping people figure out the right business to start, because so many people start the wrong business. Or start a business before they're ready, or are missing, key pieces of self-awareness in order to get the business right from the beginning. John, I'd like to get your technical insights here on SEO. So if we can dive into, let's start right at the top with some real, like, what are the fundamentals of SEO that a new business owner would need to understand when setting up their website?
Yeah, so SEO, there's over 200 signals, and Google's always watching algorithms and making sure that the search intent, the search keyword matches the customer who's searching it, right? And so Google's intent is to satisfy everyone's search query with the best user experience and best result of the business owner that is selling that product or service, right? So it's matching, and you should really focus on the customer and not so much on Google. People forget that, and they do so heavily more research on Google than the customer. I would say the opposite. Really focus on paying customers, your ideal customers. That's why I focus on professional services, because they've been in business for a little bit longer. They have established clients, and they know what they're after, and they know what they want to be known for, right? Because what Google's looking for is experts, thought leaders, authoritative figures, which is website owners or business owners that know what they're talking about, to then position them on the first page. Because if you don't know what you're doing, good luck being on the first page. And even if you're on the first page, you don't know how to service your clients, and you're going to have bad reputation. You're going to have very high bounce rates. You're going to have no converting content. Like all that has detrimental effects for the user experience. So building a website is all about user engagement, title tags, description, compelling images that speak to the problem that the customer has. Solve the problem, talk about the solution, maybe some case study testimonials, and let people in on like call to action. What's the next step, right? Very easy, fundamental website. Then comes content. How do you position yourself, right? So you should know a little bit more than the people who want to buy your product or service, so that you can educate them, inform them about the services you offer, or a blog that updates them on what's going on in your industry, right? Newsworthy information. So start producing content to position yourself as a leader in the industry. Because if you're not producing content, people will see that you're just a stale website that's doing like a brochure.
Yeah.
People don't want that anymore. They want fresh, updated information constantly, right?
So in order to create that content, because I know a lot of business owners maybe start with an Instagram page, or they start with a blog, or maybe even a vlog of some description, something on YouTube. And I've heard you talk before about SEO being a long game rather than, in contrast to advertising being the quick win. So am I right in from what you're saying here, that if you're starting a business now, in order to build towards an SEO-driven future, creating content ongoing, even if you're not seeing the return immediately, is a good investment of time?
Constantly, yes. I would say totally agree. Content creation on your own asset pieces is where you want to own information. Because if you're producing content on YouTube or even on like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, they own the platform.
Yep.
So you want to own it on your own website. And then I forgot to mention, like, content comes in a lot of formats: images, written, audio, and video. 4 formats. You have to understand how your customers are absorbing and consuming information. What medium and channel are they using, and what do they want out of that piece of content? Make sure that it actually has substance and depth. Don't just clickbaity headlines, right? Focus on quality. Focus on producing really compelling arguments and information that resonates with your ideal customer. Because without good content, without knowing your customers to produce good content, you're going to go blind, and you're spending a lot of money on ads, and you're going to be frustrated with the end result because it's going nowhere. So you need a sequence. You need, if you're doing ads from Facebook, Instagram, Google ads or whatever, you have to understand the purpose. Who's watching that video? They only have like 5 or 10 seconds, right? People just have very low attention span. Get to the point right off the bat. Then get them triggered to something, either an offer or some promo or something, a landing page, that will then trigger them to then watch a case study or review. Like, it's a sequence, right? Because if you think that you're the average person that needs your product or service, say you're a business owner and you're a plumber. I have a problem. I'm going to seek out a plumber, and I'm going to type out emergency plumber near me. I don't know, right? That's typically maybe someone searching, or drain piping, or whatever it is, the issue is. Then comes the Google ads. There's the map, and below, who are you going to seek out? I stay away from ads because I know people are already paying to play. I look on the map, and yes, I might look at the reviews on the map to see which ones are credible, right? I vet them by looking at either the most recent, or I sort by the worst reviews, because everyone has 5 stars today. Everyone in the world is always trying to get the most reviews. So I vet based on like bad ratings, and how did they overcome those bad ratings? What did they say? What did they do? So this is my mindset of when I have to pay a couple $100 on a plumbing issue.
Yeah.
They have a nice website, speaks to me. I call them up. Can you solve this problem? Because I already vetted them. I already checked out their history, check out the reviews, check out the website. How much will it be? How soon can you come here? Done. Here's my credit card, right? That's a typical transaction, right? So if that's the typical transaction, you have to get in the mindset of that typical customer, like myself, who wants to consume your product or service. And then go through that whole behavior and journey. And if they're looking at an ad, right, like Google ad or Facebook ad or Instagram ad, when they click on it, you're trying to solve their problem. And if you don't have compelling information to solve the problem, why would they use you?
Yeah.
So you need social proof. You need to have already run a business. You need some experience behind your back, because people are going to check you out. They're going to learn about us, your story, your reviews, right? Like, people forget all that, right? And I get it. When you're new, you don't have customers. You don't even know if you want to, you're going to be doing this for 5-10 years. That's where sales come in. And it's all about like going out and learning to make mistakes and selling. Maybe offering it up for free at the beginning, right? Give up some time, give up some of your product and service so that people can write a good review for you.
So the first thing you check is obviously the locality of who's coming up, but then it's the Google reviews that you check. Is that right? You look for how they've handled their customers and then their website.
Yeah. So again, this is just me as the behavior, right? And every person will be different. Some people might just click on the Google ad because they're on mobile and they need something right away first, right? Some people will vet based on location. Like if it's a restaurant, I'm going to go dig a little bit deeper to check out reviews.
So the first thing is to understand the customer and understand what journey they're likely to be going on. Are they likely to be searching when on their mobile or on desktop? Are they likely to be, what's the biggest problem they're going to likely need solving when they come to your website? So that when they hit the link, it's the right answer to the question they've got, or at least the information to contact you immediately. The levels of detail then beneath that in terms of creating the content that drive the traffic, right? What are the other levels that go on?
So there's a lot of technical aspects like speed and response to user engagement, the flow of behavior. And then just keyword research is key. The content conversion copy, speaking to the customer. Then there's the other components, right? Which is amplifying it. So Google actually ranks you on this page because content is you own the asset, but no one's clicking on there. And no one's going to click on your site if you're a brand new domain, business, URL, like no one knows you. So you need other people to support your cause and understand what you're offering. So you have to do a lot of amplification outreach to associations, or you have to be actually an expert, like someone that's knows their stuff to be then published in an article that your specific trade or your specific association backs, right? Supports. So that takes time. That's not like a 1-2 year business. It may take 5-10 years to do, right? That's where everyone has to understand the whole concept of why Google is the ultimate for first page of Google can deliver really good inbound leads. But you need to know your stuff. You need to really know how to run a business, and you need to know how to take care of customers. You need to know how to amplify your message, create good content, and be an expert. Without all that, it's not going to help you if you're ranking.
Sure. So it's a long game, and it needs you to be essentially know your customer, and then be incredibly active at producing content that helps people, and to be connected to other businesses and to be featured in other places that naturally happens when you become an expert and when you start offering your services anyway. Fantastic. So that's kind of because a lot of my customers are in the very early stages of setting up a business, and so I guess the message that I'm hearing is start now, because it's going to take time. So it's that path of demonstrating expertise and knowing.
Yeah, consistency. Exactly. It's all about like just starting the habit of start producing content that is relevant to what your audience members want. Right. And it may take time to start producing, starts time to actually amplify it and market it, but that's business, right? Everything is all about like trial and error, and you're going to pivot a lot of times. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. If you're in it for the right reasons in the long term, it's okay.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, John. I've got some quick fire questions here for you, if you don't mind. So question number 1, what's the best book about business that you would recommend?
I still feel Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich is one of my all-time favorites. But I also like Adam Grant's Give and Take.
Okay. I like that. Awesome. Question number 2, who is your biggest mentor or biggest influence in business?
I would say in sales, Zig Ziglar, he really got me started to really help me propel my sales career by just being fearless.
Awesome. Question number 3. What was your childhood dream job or professional career, if you had one?
So honestly, I wanted to be a CEO of a very large multinational company. That was my ultimate dream because they flew jets, like they got private jets. They had the nicest car and women and yeah, cars and Lambos and women all flocking everywhere. That was what was sold to me in magazines and TV shows, right? But I feel I am living the dream right now, being my own boss. So I'm very grateful in that sense.
Awesome. Question number 4, early mornings or late nights?
Definitely early mornings. 5 a.m. club, Robin Sharma.
Nice. And then finally, if you were able to give a message to your younger self, what would you say?
If I had to give, so I have a son right now, and I'm always throwing stuff at him to be more of a giver, which is help people that are less unfortunate and less fortunate, the ones that really need it. And that's the biggest value, I would say, like give early and give often, because then it becomes a habit.
Fantastic. John, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you today. I'm going to leave some contact details and links in the description to this, but is there any social media or anywhere that people should reach you if they want to connect?
Yeah, so my website is www.localseosearch.ca. Based in Toronto, Canada, but we service clients all over UK, North America. We also have a podcast called Local SEO Today. We worked at Yellow Pages, me and my VP. He was there for 30 plus years. So we have a lot of business experience. So that's what we bring to the table with business knowledge and insights from local type community-based business owners. So check it out. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Check out that podcast and connect with John if you need support with any business-related or SEO search issues. Great. John, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and we'll stay in touch, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Joe. Have a great day.
Cheers, John. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Be The Boss podcast. I hope you really enjoyed it, and if you did, then please don't forget to leave a like or share it with someone that you think would find it useful. Also, if you have any questions, suggestions, or anything that you'd like me to cover in future episodes, then please do drop a comment or send me a message so that I can do that for you. Thank you so much, and I will be with you in the next episode.